Hello, presenters. Thank you again for agreeing to present for the first year teacher simulation. The purpose of the afternoon is for teachers to have 3 hours to see how someone in their grade or content area does their job, such as how you organize your classroom, procedures you use, things to consider instructionally, and how you build relationship with your kids the first week. While no teacher teaches the exact same way, we want them to be able to add tools to their toolkit. First-year teachers are one of the best groups to work with because they're eager to learn and very willing to ask questions. For the duration of this video, I want to look through the simulation presenter notes packet and discuss the schedule. You're welcome to adjust times and add more content in, but please make sure to cover the topics listed. I will be moving back and forth between the elementary and secondary packets. Please note that they really are almost identical. I will make sure and point out the differences, however, as we go. If you haven't already, please click the link for either secondary or elementary presenter notes on the Directions for Presenters Canvas course page. This will allow you to access the presenter simulation notes. If you haven't done that yet, pause this video while you pull it up. Make sure at the top of your Google Doc that you have accessed the correct simulation plan, either elementary or secondary. To start, let's look at the learning outcome. As you read in the course, our goal is for first-year teachers to actually experience a successful classroom. It is okay to do actual activities with the first-year teachers that you would do with your students and let them experience it. Make sure to point out how you are intentionally doing this as you go. One thing to keep in mind throughout the afternoon: please always work to keep the tone positive. If something negative comes up, try to focus on finding solutions and on the positive side. So let's start with our schedule. At 1, you begin the learning. Please be ready to go at 12:40 for any early arrivals. The teachers will be coming to you from LHS. They will have spent the morning talking about classroom management and meeting with and having lunch with their first-year teacher coach. Please know they will be dismissed to drive to their campuses from LHS at 12:30. Please make sure that you have clearly marked signs or that office staff know to direct the teachers to your classroom. If people arrive late and the office staff are at lunch, they won't know where to find you, so plan accordingly. The teachers will bring a copy of the reflection sheet and the scavenger hunt page if they're elementary, and the reflection sheet and the classroom culture page if they're secondary. It might be helpful to point out the reflection page at the beginning of your session so they can take notes or write down their questions as they go. You can find a link to see what that looks like in the reflection portion at the bottom of the plan. So you're going to start with brief introductions, introduce yourself, get to know them, and make sure they sign in on the blank sign-in sheet. You will need to print a copy of this and have it ready. Next, you're going to want to set up some working agreements to make your 3 hours together successful. This is your opportunity to put in place something that might make it feel safer to ask questions. For example, one of your agreements is that we will take time to ask and answer questions, or it might be to use technology for learning to make sure there aren't side conversations or off-task behavior. Then, and this is different, please relate this to your classroom and students. Go over with them how you lay out expectations for your students during the first week of school. This is huge because they don't teach this in college directly, and they aren't there as student teachers when the observing teacher sets it up on the first day. Give them direct wording and processes to do this and stress the importance. They will thank you later. Remember the aspect of student input when discussing class expectations. Next, do some kind of get-to-know-you activity. You can choose to do this first if you would like to before the working agreements. It's up to you. This will make them more comfortable in your room. You may choose to do one that you would do with your students, and share any other great icebreaker resources you may have. Team building is something they will need to do all year long, not just on day 1, so help them to remember that this needs to be an important aspect to create that positive and collaborative classroom environment. Next is a new feature as well. We're going to build in a check-in. At this point, once everyone is comfortable in the room, conduct a brief check-in to ask about their expectations for the afternoon. Take a few minutes and ask participants, what big questions do you have? What are you most worried about? What do you want to most learn about my classroom? Jot down those ideas and make sure to answer those as you go. The next section from 1:30 to 2 looks differently for elementary and secondary. I'll start with elementary. For 15 minutes, participants will look around your room and take notes on what they see. So you're going to want to make sure you click on the scavenger hunt sheet and know what they're looking for beforehand. Then for another 15 minutes, Talk with them and go through the items on their sheet and point out anything they missed. Be sure to talk about classroom procedures and routines. Be sure to talk about what this might look like in their classroom. For the secondary plan, the only difference is that you don't give them 15 minutes to look around the room. Most secondary rooms aren't set up like elementary rooms with all the processes evident. So instead, use the full 30 minutes to go over questions on the classroom culture sheet. You will want to click on it and go over it so you are prepared beforehand. If your room is set up purposefully, you can do the 15-minute observation first like elementary, but that's up to you. For both elementary and secondary, please find engaging ways to go over the questions. This is your chance to model what you would do with your kids. For secondary, just a note, please be sure to cover technology management. This is a huge issue that always comes up for first-year teachers. Next, for both groups, you have about 15 minutes to discuss the first day and week of school. Remember, most teachers have zero experience with what to actually do on day one. Walk them through what you do and what your day looks like. Maybe that's even a schedule. Consider sharing things like, what do students do the first time they enter the room? Or how do you handle supplies? From 2:15 to 3:30 is your instructional block. During your instructional block, you will provide an overview and demonstration of content-specific instructional practices and resources. Click on the link provided that matches your instructional area. You will see the main instructional practices and resources that the learning and teaching team wants to make sure that you cover. Please take the opportunity to model during this time. For example, if you're an elementary ELA teacher, model what guided reading will look like. The most important thing first-year teachers always want to know is how to manage the class during this time. So teach these first-year teachers how to set it up from day one and how to get the groups to stay on task while you work with your small group. Secondary. An example might be how to get kids to participate in SSR or the expectations you set out before science labs. Be sure to demonstrate what you tell them when possible. At 3:30, give teachers time to fill out their reflection sheet if they have not. Ask them to share out their favorite ideas from the day or pieces they will take away. Give them time to ask any other questions and write down to-dos. Just a note, make sure they take this sheet with them. They will not give it to you. This is for them, so they have notes about their learning from the day so they can refer to later. At 3:50, elementary has a link to write on the board, and secondary has a link to write on the board. This is a survey that we will ask participants to take before they leave our classrooms. Please just write down that bit.ly and give them time to complete the survey. It is only available electronically. There are no paper copies this year. Participants can take it on their smartphone. If they have no technology with them, you may want to have a classroom iPad or laptop open that they can take the survey on. However, a smartphone works fine, and please know that they do not have to have any LISD credentials to log in. After the session, please make sure to keep your sign-in sheet and send it to me. You have two options. You can scan it and email it to me, or put it in an envelope and send it to me at the Louisville Admin Center. Please send by Wednesday, August 7th. This is how I mark attendance for both you and the teachers at this event. And once I receive this, then I can turn in your name into payroll. A couple of other things to note. Please do not feel like you have to spend money purchasing things. If there are things in your classroom, you can show them or let them take pictures. Some will have their laptops, some may not, so please don't count on that. They will bring a packet with them with copies of the scavenger hunt and reflection sheet, and you need to print out the sign-in sheet. Please note you also need to probably print out a copy of this plan to help you stay on schedule. One difficult side of planning for new hires is that you never know who will actually be hired. Therefore, we aren't able to guarantee that you will have people on this date. I will update numbers periodically, but you can check on the presenter list document that you'll see later in the course as early as July to see how many first-year teachers you have. I will email you at least 1 week prior to let you know for sure if you should expect teachers or not. If you don't have any first-year teachers in your content area, then we won't need you to present on that day. Generally, in the past, probably 85 to 90% of the different simulation classes have filled, but there have been a handful that do not have first-year teachers that year. Thank you again for being willing to participate. We've gotten really great feedback on this learning opportunity. The first-year teachers find this time very valuable. If you have any questions, please post them in the FAQ section in the course, or feel free to email me directly. Thank you for your commitment to our first-year teachers.